More than 10 years ago, one of my friends introduced me to his cousin Virgil. He trained a martial art called Aikido. When I asked him what it was about, he handed me a pen and said, "Hey, try and stab me. Pretend this is a knife." So I did, and there was this flurry of hand motions, and the pen went flying, and it felt like nothing had happened to me, but I was disarmed. And then we looked up and saw the pen lodged in the ceiling panel, and I was like, I want to learn how you did that. So next week I signed up, and I've been training ever since. For me, the simplest explanation of Aikido often relates to using your opponent's force against them, blending with their attacks, redirecting their energy to protect yourself and throw them, then escape from a fight, not get into too much trouble. It's also been about maintaining health and flexibility. And I'm still trying to stay humble when I get up from a break fall and limp for the next couple days. Virgil has also been a mentor to me. He's been like a big brother. He's part of my family. I'm excited to introduce you to him and have you meet one of the most dedicated martial arts in Regina. Virgil, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get talking about Aikido, before we get too far into it, let's talk about beer. Cheers.
Always a good subject. Cheers.
So this is Black Bridge Cold Pressed Cream Ale. I haven't had it. This is my first taste.
It's very good. Notice the coffee flavor?
Oh, I wouldn't even call it a coffee flavor. I'd call it like a coffee bomb.
Well, I like coffee and I like beer, so it's a great mix.
It smells really good.
It's quite smooth.
Yeah. Would you recommend it to your friends?
Definitely. Definitely would.
Oh, yeah, that's really good. Big coffee flavor. I'm a big coffee guy, so I could always go for a coffee beer.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly begging Dave to make more coffee beers at the brewery.
Well, it looks like they've done a good job with this one.
It's 4.5%, and they actually used coffee beans in the brew. What their brewer's notes say is they used coffee beans just like hops to create different flavors and aromas. They pulled back on the hops to try and accentuate the roasty bitterness of their beans, which are from Costa Rica. And then they're trying to go for a clean, unassuming blonde brew. They say hopefully it has serious coffee appeal. I dig it.
I like it as well.
So let's go to the very beginning. How did you get started with Aikido?
Well, when I was about in my early 20s, I'd been training another martial art for a little while, and school opened up down the street from the little business I owned, and seemed interesting, so I went and checked it out, and I never looked back from there.
And how long? So 20 years, 30 years, you think?
I'm going on about 24 years now of Aikido training, and about a year and a half in another art before that, so I'm up at about 25 to 26 years of martial arts training.
So what does that mean from somebody coming off the street? What rank would you be?
At present, I'm a third Dan, or a third degree black belt.
In terms of Aikido, what does that mean? Is that fairly high level, or?
I wouldn't say it's a high level. I haven't really focused a lot on my own testing over the years, so I would say it's high level compared to some, but there are many who are much higher ranked than me, of course.
It sounds like you're being very humble, because you are teaching at a dojo.
Well, that's true. It's a high enough rank to teach, run my own school and to teach for sure. So,
So, how does an Aikido dojo work? What do you have to do to come on out and sign up?
well, really, like most things like this, I mean, just come on out, try it out. We always let somebody try it out. I always say, if you're unsure after your first try it out again. I like people to be sure it's something they want to do. But yeah, just come out to one of our class times and hop on the mat.
Just wear some sweatpants and a t-shirt?
Sweatpants and a t-shirt, and we can go from there, depending on what you decide from that point on.
So what can people expect from your style of teaching? Is it pretty laid back or super aggressive? A lot of people are used to like Krav Maga or Jiu-Jitsu.
I would say I'm somewhat of a traditionalist. I really appreciate the traditional mentality of some of these older arts. At the same time, I want people to have fun. I'm somewhat lighthearted on the mat. I just like to take the training seriously, but at the same time, we don't have to take ourselves too seriously.
Do you have a favorite Aikido story? You've been training for quite a few years.
Well, I've got a lot of interesting little experiences that I've had. I'd say one of probably my favorite memories is I was able to travel down to Denver, Colorado, and do about a 4-day seminar in the Buddhist temple there with a very famous, high-ranking Aikido master, if you will, from Japan. It was the last time he was able to make it to North America before he passed, and it was definitely a real eye-opening and great learning experience. There was a lot of people I met from a lot of places. This particular master happened to be a live-in student of the founder of Aikido for 24 years, the longest living, what they would refer to as an uchideshi, or live-in student. So his knowledge and his understanding of the art was, very high up there, second to none.
So you're saying back in Japan there were guys who would live at a dojo to train full time?
Absolutely, yeah. They were referred to as professional students, basically, and it was almost like in a way, like a secondary education. They lived and trained, some of them for 15 years, some of them for 5 years, depending.
Does that even happen anymore? Do people still do that?
I can't say exactly. Absolutely, they do. I don't know if it happens as much as it used to, but there are definitely some schools that you can go and you can live and train at. How often Westerners are accepted into those systems, that's hard to say. You'd have to research that yourself. But there are definitely those types of situations still available if somebody wanted to, change their life and move over to Japan or any of those countries, and you can still find those experiences, I think.
Well, it's funny to note that Denver, Colorado is also a bit of a craft beer mecca. It's kind of got a really strong, thriving craft beer scene. Did you have a chance to have any craft beers when you were in Denver? Or is it all training all the time?
Well, it wasn't all training all the time. There was a lot of going out. Back in the day, there wasn't, the craft beer market here wasn't, I don't even know if it had started here at that point. So my knowledge of that type of thing was very, very minimal. But it was an interesting night scene in Denver for sure. That was, again, back in '99, I think it was. So, like I said, my understanding of that sort of thing was pretty minimal. So I can't say that I did.
How long has the dojo been going?
The Aikido Seishinkan, our particular dojo, has been going for about 18 years. We've had to move a few times. We originally started down in down the street on Dudney Avenue, across from Bushwhacker.
Another craft beer scene.
Another craft. And after that, we had to move around a little bit and into a couple of schools and through some community associations, just because of the big real estate boom in town. Obviously, changed the lease rates for a little while there, but we're now back into our own location. We've been around for about 2 years in this location. We're on 2410 Dudney Avenue. We're in the lower level.
Right underneath Jack Keaton's, where Don's photo is.
Exactly, yeah, in that building. A few new businesses coming into that building, of course, as well. Yeah, we've, like I said, it's a beautiful little location. Kind of tried to really build a little, very traditional feel and give people a good sort of martial arts experience.
So what's happening next for the dojo?
Well, I think our goal is to just, obviously we'll always continue with the traditional Aikido training. That's where my heart is, and that's the overall benefits in life of training regularly in a way like that are almost immeasurable. We've now added in some self-defense courses, which are a little bit more just straight street applicable technique. We do those on the Monday night and the Thursday night. So the Monday night we go from 6 o'clock till 7:15, and that's a co-ed self-defense. And the Thursday night we do a women's self-defense at the same time from 6 till 7:15.
So what can people expect from a self-defense class? Who would kind of be the people who would want to show up, like nurses, teachers, maybe people who work as servers?
Well, definitely. I mean, all those types of positions are, run into situations where they could deal with, unreasonable people, maybe even, you know, the to and from work, the hours they work, things like that. I think it's definitely beneficial to those types of industries where people are working sometimes odd hours, and again have to deal with sometimes situations that aren't really in their job description.
Well, I know that we had a few of the girls from Rebellion come out and basically take a run at a ladies' self-defense class. How do you think it went?
Well, I mean, you know, I can't really say from their point of view. I mean, from my point of view, I think they did really well at it. You know, it's a little bit different than your typical where you're, you know, just teaching strikes to certain parts of the face. A lot of what we do is movement based. It's getting away from the power of an attack, learning to use small joint manipulation, things like that, for both immobilization and maybe disarming of weapons. Personally, I think they did great. I guess I hope, you know, whether they feel the same way or not.
Well, I remember just today they were saying they wanted to come back and try again. So that's a pretty good goal.
Well, it sounds like they enjoyed it, and of course they're always welcome to come back and we can do it. We do, of course, what they did was a private class, which we can do. We can book sort of private time that'll fit your group or business or whatever it might be. So we try to accommodate based on schedule.
So people could sign up to do a drop-in or maybe a long-term training, or they can book private group sessions?
Absolutely, yeah. It's great team building, if you will. Sometimes, you know, for example, your servers, if a group of them know some of this stuff, then maybe, you know, if ever needed, you got a few people who might have the same knowledge. Also, I think, you know, just the benefits of going out and doing something like this, you know, the exercise and the strength it builds in the body.
Don't mess with the Lady Rebels, though.
Don't mess with the Lady Rebels, I wouldn't. I'm still feeling it.
Well, Virgil, I want to thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and thank you very much for bringing this great beer.
Rebels, thank you for tuning in this week. If you want to find the latest news about Rebellion, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Untapped. I'm going to be including links in the show notes so you can find more information about Aikido Seishinkan and the self-defense courses that are being offered starting in January. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.